Javali and the Teacher by Maria Antonietta Binetti.
A long time ago, in a very poor and hopeless village located in the wide desert of the ancient Eastern Plains, there lived a beautiful child with black deep eyes like the night. His name was Javali. He was 10 years old and lived with his grandparents since he was a baby. His parents, along with 58 other people on a boat, decided to embark on a journey to seek fortune, but no one heard from the boat again, and Javali was left with only a small land that his father had loved to play since the child was still in the world. Unfortunately, that abandonment had caused an unusual and terrible illness in him that the world's top doctor had declared recognizable as water noise syndrome. Since he was a child, his dear grandparents had made countless sacrifices to ensure that their grandson had the bare necessities, and above all, did not feel different from the other children in the village, where everything was covered in orange trees and vibrant water fountains. Nevertheless, Javali grew up without ever learning to speak, despite there being no apparent health problems, and in the total confusion of doctors who had repeatedly told his grandparents.
The child is healthy. He can hear everything that happens around him, pays attention to those who speak to him, and observes everything. However, apart from smiling near a stream or a water fountain, it seems that the child does not react to anything. We just can't seem to understand how to help him.
At the age of 10, his grandparents were suggested to transfer the child to an internationally renowned school, where you will find excellent teachers specializing in innovative and personalized inclusion programs at the forefront. Unfortunately, the institution was on the other side of the world, in the distant and modern West. However, despite the great suffering that choice will entail, the grandparents agreed to transfer the child, who, after smiling at the fountain in his garden, put an orange in his bag and left. Yes, the old children's rights school was truly a fantastic school. It was large and colorful, full of multimedia laboratories and with gyms and sports fields. The walls covered with paintings and photo remembrance giant prints. The floors and ceiling adorned with large mosaics and quotations from illustrious characters who had made history after changing it. Javalì was placed in a not very regular shaped class, in full of light, thanks to 3 huge windows overlooking an internal garden looked after by the students themselves. Slowly, the child was introduced to his classmates, and day after day, the various teachers were introduced, who with patient and big smiles spoke to the children about their discipline, the goals to be achieved, the activities they will carry out, the educational trips, visited the museums, theater show, and meeting with authors. But above all, they talked about inclusion, the need to welcome each other, to help each other in difficulties, to support the weaker ones, and to always respect each other. So began the adventure of the child who came from afar, while he continued to look around to observe the world in his own way, and to often ask to drink from the glass bottle he had in his backpack, and which he frequently shook to hear the sound of water. But without ever speaking, never. In his way, he began to choose those who seemed to be his first friends, and stayed there, watching them while they drew an orange, a water fountain, or a small ant that no one had ever heard him play. Javalì was a docile child and was immediately loved by everyone. He, in turn, never showed any animosity towards anyone, neither his classmates nor his teachers, who were always available to all students, ready to listen to their problems and undertake any kind of strategy aimed at inclusion. Inclusion was, in fact, the verb that the children learned to conjugate first in all tenses and modes, and that they had to know in all languages. From the beginning of the school year, among all his teachers, Javali seemed to show a natural inclination towards a particular teacher, a special feeling made up of unrevealable words of love, never spoken but the child seemed to listen to, as if they were crystal clear waterspouts or small tears swallowed in silence without making any noise. He was a teacher who had arrived at the school only a few years ago and who always smiled at everyone, or rather at each of the students in a unique and inimitable way. She spoke from the heart, and Javalì felt it like he felt the sound of water. Actually, it all started one day. The teacher decided to teach in an alternative way and took a class near a beautiful waterfall that many call the music waterfall. It was precisely in that place that the first miracle of the beautiful story occurred. All the children were arranged in a circle at the foot of the waterfall, and after a thorough and exhaustive explanation by the teacher on the importance of water, she concluded,
"From now on, words don't count anymore. Sometime we say "tuning." Let's stay silent, guys, and listen to the water."
Soon, I recounted so much of that experience in the future, and I written books and books about it, because that's where the magic started. Javalì suddenly seemed to light up with happiness, as if he had finally come home, and perhaps that was exactly what happened. He looked at the teacher with his beautiful big eyes and smiled at her like never before. It seemed like someone was talking to him or had intoned some fantastic melody. So he headed towards the water that flowed quickly, bursting on the dark and sparkling pebbles. He began to collect it in the palm of his hands and naturally bring it to his classmates, who initially tried to hold it timidly in their hands, but then also began to do the same with him and among themselves. And then, everyone splashing water without the slightest fear of getting wet. Meanwhile, the teacher remained motionless, incredulous, and wonderfully dumbfounded. It was a beautiful scene to watch. She remained pleasantly powerless in front of that perfect dance of souls, the most beautiful moment of her professional career. And while the world, inclusion, put in her head like a jackhammer, as if that scene where there were for so many training courses already attended, Javalì approached her, and leaving everyone breathless, suddenly said, The teacher, do you hear the sound of water?" It was unparalleled happiness. Javalì had a sweet voice. For the first time since she had been teaching, the teacher felt she was beginning to understand what the real meaning of the big world that had hovered so much among the dust and the lectures of the school was. She opened her arms as if they were those of a friendly harbor to embrace the child. Like a self-flame on the last rejected boat, she held him tightly, that everyone else did the same. Despite the awareness that an extraordinary event had occurred in the days that followed, everything seemed to return to the usual normalcy. Everything had resumed plowing to normally, until something new and unforeseeable happened. It seemed like any other morning when the teacher walked into the classroom to teach. Once again, she'd been asked to speak about a new pro-inclusion initiative, but as soon as she began to talk about it, she burst into tears. However, she quickly regained composure, apologized, and pretended to not feel well. At that point, all the students approached her affectionately, showing concern, except for Javalì, who remained motionless in his seat for a few moments that seemed like an eternity. Then, he took out a small hand drum from his backpack and began to play. They all listened in silence, moved, spellbound by the magic of his music. And as it seemed that Javalì had finally decided to open the doors of his world to let her, his teacher, in, he approached her and looked into her eyes, asking, "But teacher, don't you like the sound of water?" It was at that precise moment, and for the first time, that the teacher understood how she should talk to him, with honesty. So, as she let all those tears that she had swallowed for too long fall down, and holding the voice in tightly, she said,
"The most beautiful thing a person can do is welcome the other. Love them, respect them, include them. But unfortunately, it doesn't always happen in that way in the world, especially in the world of adults. It hasn't always happened to me. You have to be strong, Javali, and always believe in yourself. Now, and even more when you grow up and face those who won't have your society and will try to impose their ideas on you, convince you that you're not good enough, and out of envy, they will even slander you. You have to be strong when a teacher gives you a grade that doesn't belong to you, and when they turn a deaf ear to your vulnerabilities. And you have to be strong when due to someone else's envy, you will endure the bullying of those who, poor fools, believe they're God. Javali, you have to be strong when once you grow up, no one will tell you anymore that you're good, especially if you're even better. You have to be strong when they tell you that many boats never come back due to storms or closed ports. But you also have to be strong when they try to make you believe that the dreams don't come true and that God doesn't exist. That's why I cry. But the world is not just ugly, and I will always love the sound of water."
Upon hearing these words, looking at her with his big black eyes, after remaining motionless for a few moments that seemed like an eternity, Javalì took out the small bottle from his backpack and continued to look into her eyes, poured all the water on the teacher's head, who burst into a liberating laughter. At that point, Javalì smiled first, then opened his arms as if they were those of a new harbor, and hugged his sweet teacher as if she were a soul in search of love on the last found boat. But the story of the boy who loved the sound of water doesn't end there. After years of silence, after listening aloud, after receiving and giving many smiles, and swallowing or wiping away tears, and living or remembering stories, and traveling on one-way journeys in memories and hopes, Javalì finally learned to hope and to speak. Today, Javalì writes books and meets hundreds and hundreds of teachers and students, to whom he teaches courses on love and inclusion.